Hey there, Portal fans. This is Wesatron. Today we're going to be taking a look at NECA's Portal 2 Peabody action figure. These just started hitting NECA's eBay store and are retailing for about $24.99 and are also available at least at TRU, but I have not yet heard about FYE or anything like that. This is part of the two-figure set, essentially, of Peabody and Atlas. The clamshell packaging is pretty standard for NECA. We're blocked from our view of the inside of the packaging on this side. On this side, we have a little view of the LED. Because this has working LED lights, this tells you a little information about batteries. On the bottom, we got info about our team who built it. Sculpt and fabrication by Brad Haskins, Ty Spurlock. Paint, John Mordell and Jeffrey Trapp. Prototypes, Adam Smith. Packaging, and Chris Longo. And the man in charge, Randy Falk. On the back, same as Peabody. I'm sorry, same as Atlas. We've got a shot from the game, and then a little bit of info about aperture, and there's no real difference in terms of packaging. I was a little curious if they would have, because they have different guns, if they would have different color portals in the back, but no luck. So anyway, let's get this guy out of packaging and see what he's like. Here's Peabody out of packaging, and I gotta say it's a bit of a mixed bag. Unfortunately, my Atlas broke as soon as I tried to move the shoulders, and the resulting break has left me very cautious about moving Peabody shoulders because they're kind of similar in design, and yeah, they're not engineered as well as you would think. Well, they may be engineered that way, but I don't know. We'll get to it. So basically, we have a series of ball joints up here that are designed in piston form, similar to what they did with like Robocop's hind legs and everything like that, where when you move it, it should activate a piston that moves things back and forth. Simple concept. These appear to all be glued in place. They do not move. If you try to move them, nothing happens. I was really frustrated at first because it would mean no arm movement. However, I did realize after messing around with it a little bit more, and this is one of the reasons why I wish NECA would include articulation plans like they used to with their Street Fighter figures, there is a swivel up here. This whole entire unit is movable. So even though these do not move, so you get no in-out movement or anything like that, you do still get some rotation there. Sorry, that balance looks a little bit better to me. So yeah, you do get rotation up here in this part of the shoulders. These, though they do have ball joints on them, you may be able to get yours to move, but please look very carefully before you start messing with them, because mine do appear to have some glue residue on them, and that is what broke my other figures, trying to move it while they were glued shut. So that is unfortunate. We have nothing, no swivels in the upper biceps. Also unfortunate. It seems like most of the movement in the arms is tied to these pistons working, and that does not work. So right here where you would see there's a very useful place where you could put a swivel, we don't have any movement at all. So that means that the elbows are essentially forward and back, which is very unfortunate because it makes the gun difficult to hold. Like, you can kind of get it to rest there, but it always wants to bounce back because the gun is also very heavy. We do have an ab crunch forward and back, so if you got, like, try not to break this, if this is your vanilla pose, you get about that much forward and about that much back. So not a ton of range of motion, but a little bit. It is loose enough that most times he just sort of falls forward, so that's a bit of a bummer. This is very tight in here, but there is a swivel right where my thumb is, right where my fingernail is. So if you get in there and you give it a good twist, you will get a swivel in there, which is nice. We do have, the legs are a little interesting too. We have a huge ball joint hidden by this plastic armor piece. So there's a big ball joint in there, which gives you a nice range of motion and everything. However, on the back, there is a cord that runs from this piece down to this piece, so moving it too far forward, you may see that hose, it'll start to stretch out, and eventually will reach maximum tightness, and then if you move it any further, it will break. But it does give you the leg about that much movement forward if you unhook the ball joint that is the other piston right here in the hip. Otherwise, if this piston is engaged, you can really only move it forward about that far, and then backwards about that far before it pops out. So again, the pistons kind of hinder the articulation a little bit, so that is unfortunate. The good news is that because of that huge ball joint, you do get some kind of in and out movement with the hips, which is good, so you get better at leg poses than you might think. But the knees kind of hinder that as well. They only go back about that far, so not a lot of motion in the knees. This is another one of those areas where, like, you know, maybe game accurate, but they should have cut that down to provide more clearance for the knees. I don't care about 100% game accuracy when it comes to the difference between a 90-degree bend and that. So, I mean, I would say that's probably right around, what, 45 degrees? Something like that. Not great. The hinges in the ankles, there are no swivels down here, unfortunately. So hinges in the ankles go back about that far, forward about that far. So not a terrible range of motion, but without swivels, that kind of hinders what you can do because the feet are very skinny. And then we have toe hinges, which if you've watched my videos before, you know I'm not really a fan of. I don't really care about toe hinges. At least they're semi-tight on mine, so they won't cause him to fall over very easily. But yeah, articulation isn't awful. They did some nice engineering on the hips. The pistons cause a lot of problems. Swivels in the shoulders help to make up a little bit for the super glued ball joints, but not enough to say that the articulation is solid. The one interesting thing that they did, we do have ball jointed wrists, by the way. The one interesting thing they did is to, oh, I don't think that's supposed to move like that. Yep, that piece just came undone. Oh boy, yeah. Elbows are only supposed to get close to 90 degrees. If they go any further, it's probably because a part popped off. Sorry. The ball joints in the wrists, also for the first time I've ever seen, have a posable thumb piece. I don't think I've ever seen that on a NECA figure, movable fingers, but it is a ball joint, so you can move that all around however you want. Because the fingers are so long, it kind of makes it difficult for him to grasp his gun, so I kind of had to move his thumb down and around, and it's kind of just sort of hanging on there right now, so not the best in the world. But anyway, let's go ahead and get in a little closer and take a look at this guy's details. So now we're a little closer, we can see some of the nice details on this guy. You can see there is a nice gloss paint job on here, so he does catch the light very well when you move him. The black parts have a slight gloss on them, but are mostly pretty flat. We've got some nice grays in here for various piping and everything, and then his kind of gold circle here and paint stripes here and down the side of the leg and everything. You know, everything looks really nice. On the back we've got a little red dot, a black circle around it, more of the just random paint apps. And then we have two blue cylinders on his elbows, one with a green dot on the back and one with a red. So the back is more complex than the front. It's very interesting. There's a big radio antenna here and then some little bits here and there. He's got a little bit of an indent here, which almost looks like it would be for a stand, but he did not come with one. More gray running down through the legs and everything, so everything looks pretty nice, well painted and everything. You know, the kind of standard NECA slop, like not too much, but you know, you may have to look at one or two just to figure out which one you want. But yeah, overall looks pretty good. Now, we do have the light up feature on this figure, so his eye, there's a one big button right here on the back above the screw hole. You just press in on that, and it does glow orange. Now, it may not seem that impressive, but I assure you, I use very bright lights, so once I start shutting these off, you can see this is a pretty bright LED on this guy. So it actually looks really, really good. They didn't cheap out on the LEDs. I would say it's at least as good as the Isaac Clarke they did in the past, and at least as good as Chell's light on her gun. So, pretty nice overall. We'll go ahead and look at the gun real quick. Get it up a little closer. You see the Aperture Laboratory symbol there up on top. Here we go. Aperture Laboratories, a little bit of slop on the paint, some little crud there, you know, not too awful. But everything is very nicely done. It's just like Chell's. They do have that little like iris looking thing inside there, which is very cool. And on the bottom we've got our switch for the light up mechanism and the handle, which is kind of recessed into the white shell a little bit, because I was saying with his hand, because of the way it's designed, makes it a little difficult to get in there. You can see that hand, yeah. You have to kind of move the thumb out of the way, and I've actually had to rotate the thumb all the way back around because it's very difficult to kind of work around. But it might actually be better just to pop the thumb out of the ball joint and hook it on there and then put it back on. I don't know. But back to the gun. When you press the button on the bottom, you do get the light up, and in his case, it's a kind of a bright red, almost like Darth Vader's lightsaber. So very, very cool. I really dig it. Yeah, they've always done a good job on the gun, back to shell, so that's pretty good. I would like to get a closer look at some of these details. Hopefully you can see in here on these ball joints, you can see there is an actual system of motion that should work there. I mean, we've got ball joints here, 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 and these are pistons that run between them that do have motion. The issue, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, is you might be able to see a little bit of a gloss in there. That's where glue has been applied. And I don't know why they're doing this. They did the same thing on the Aliens Marines figures in Series 1. But you can see there's perfectly working ball joints and pistons and everything in there. But there's glue. You can especially see it right there. There's glue that actually just keeps these things from moving. So you may be able to hit these with some heat and free those up. The unfortunate thing is, because of electronics, I wouldn't risk actually putting it in boiling water, which would be my #1 solution in general for something like this. So that is a bit unfortunate. If you take a closer look at the legs too, you'll see the piston system down here doesn't work too bad. You can see there's a ball joint, piston, ball joint. So as you move, it flexes, and it works pretty well. You know, not too bad at all. There's not really a whole lot to complain with on the legs. It would be nice if they had like a swivel right above the knees just to add a little bit of extra motion, but you know, you get just enough range out of them with the ball joints. See how far you can turn the legs in, you know? You get a pretty good range of motion there, so it's not too bad. But yeah, I mean, we got very nice detailing and pretty decent paint throughout. Really the one major thing hurting this figure is the, I would almost say, over-engineering of it. This ball joint keeps popping out. Where they took a very complex design and tried to replicate it instead of simplifying it for action figure form, which I think in this case would have served it much better. So here, looking across, we can see how Peabody compares in scale to the other figures from NECA and from McFarlane Toys. This is a roughly 5-inch figure, probably closer to 4.75 or something because they're dumb. We got Mr. Windrix here. We've got Atlas here and Caesar here. So you can see there's a varying height here. He's taller than the average 7-inch figure, which is nice. It kind of makes him tower over him a little bit, gives him some personality. I like that his hips are so much higher. It really accentuates the length of the legs. It looks really cool, and you know, Atlas looks really cool next to him. I just really wish these figures would work as well as they're engineered to work. Because the engineering actually is there, it's just that they've been hindered by whatever's been done at the factory or whatever some idiot on a floor decision has made. So it's really frustrating because they are well-designed figures. They're just not living up to their potential. So, unfortunate. But $25 for this figure is a bit high. I'm guessing that the cost has gone up because of the LEDs in both the gun and in the actual figure itself. The LEDs both work very well, and they're very cool action figures. 25 is just a bit high if you're in it for a random robot. If you like the series, you're going to buy it either way, and it is a cool figure, and it is a good representation of the character. It's just the articulation hurts it a little bit. So 25, not bad, but remember you paid probably around $18 for this, about $20 for that, and about maybe $13 to $15 for that. So, you know, give and take. It's up to you if you want to pick it up, but for me, it does seem a bit expensive considering the questionable QC. The quality control is just not exactly where it should be on NECA figures lately, and it's starting to get a little frustrating. So, sorry if this is a bit of a bummer review. I wish I had better things to say. I was very excited to get both of these figures, and unfortunately one is broken and one doesn't work. So, I don't know. What are you going to do? Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments about the figure, I'd be glad to answer them for you. Anything at all I can help with. I feel like this review is like 1,000 minutes long already, but if there's anything that I missed, please let me know. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, subscribers. If you haven't subscribed already, please click the box below. I'm always reviewing NECA figures. I love NECA and various other figures from other lines. So if you want to see more like that, you know, give me a click. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and I will talk to you later. Bye.